What is the difference between index, participating, or alternate loans, which are sort of synonymous terms based upon the insurance carrier, versus a fixed, or what is sometimes referred to as a zero wash or zero cost loan? Get ready in this episode. I think you're going to be blown away if you have never been clear on the difference between these two, and why so many savvy people, multimillionaires that take out IUL, use this one because they understand how money works versus this one, and why using loans in the first place is the smart way to access money. So put on your seatbelt. You're going to be blown away with what you learn here. Now, I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist and a retirement planning specialist for 5 decades, helping thousands of people optimize their assets, minimize taxes, and empower what I call their authentic wealth. Now, 5 decades and my favorite financial vehicle to accomplish their financial goals, to set up their family bank and help them not outlive their money, and generate for every $1 million that we accumulate in IUL. We can generate $100,000 a year, a 10% payout into perpetuity, so to speak. If they're 65 years old and they live to be 120, that based on actual historical performance, they can generate $100,000 a year of tax-free cash flow without depleting the $1 million of cash value in their policy during that time period. Now, some people say, Doug, I don't understand that. I've never seen a policy structured to do that. Well, that's why it's so critical that if you're a member of the consuming public, general public needs to understand this. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to show you how you can obtain a copy of my book, The Laser Fund. And if you study this and watch a few critical videos, you'll know more than 99.9% of financial advisors do about questions just like this, okay? If you're a financial advisor, listen very close, because you need to become a certified IUL professional to be able to answer questions like this and dozens of others that are in this playlist and series, okay? So there are episodes where I talk about the 3 ways to access money out of an IUL policy: the sad way, the dumb way, and the smart way. And so in a nutshell, the sad way is by dying. It blossoms into a tax-free transfer under Section 101A of the Internal Revenue Code. It's one heck of a return. You put $100,000, even though you're maximum funding this policy, you put $100,000 in premium payments to a $1 million policy, and you die, they're going to pay out $1 million, tax-free. That's one heck of a return, but it's the sad way, okay? The dumb way would be if you have $1 million of cash value in there, let's say, and you wanted to access money, would be to withdraw it. It's dumb because everything you withdraw over and above your basis, what you paid in premiums in the policy, if you paid $500,000 into the policy and it has grown to $1 million, everything over and above the $500,000 of basis is going to be taxable. You're triggering unnecessary tax. The IRS is actually the entity that says, don't do that. That's dumb, okay? Do it the smart way. The smart way is by borrowing. And of course, I have an episode that talks about why would you borrow your own money. First of all, when you take out loans, loans are not deemed passive portfolio or even earned income. So they're tax-free. So when you borrow money, you don't have to pay tax on that. Now, the insurance company will loan you money based upon the cash value in your policy because that's collateralizing the loan they're giving you. Now, technically speaking, if you had $1 million of cash value and you could go withdraw $1 million, but then your policy would lapse and you'd have to pay maybe $100,000 or $200,000 in taxes. That's dumb. If you wanted to borrow, you could go borrow $940,000 and the policy would stay in force, and that's none of it's taxable. That's smart. It would be far better to borrow $940,000 of your $1 million and not pay tax than to pull out your whole $1 million and only net $800,000 after paying taxes on the last $500,000 of gain. Does that make some sense? That's dumb, okay? But there's a lot of other reasons why it would be dumb to withdraw your money. Now, let's talk about the first one. When you borrow, you have basically 2 choices because it's going to be tax-free no matter which way you use it. Now, if if the point in time that you're borrowing the money, or if you are having a phantom loan balance carrying year to year on your index universal life. What do I mean by phantom? See, the loan balance on your insurance policy is not due and payable during your lifetime. It's paid off automatically when you die. The death benefit, which is tax-free, washes out and pays off the loan, okay? And so that's why it's imperative that you don't ever let the policy lapse if you don't want to have unnecessary tax triggered. And that's why many IUL policies, when people are using it for tax-free income, they have overloan protection riders and no lapse guarantees, all kinds of things that they're interested so that the policy won't lapse, because that would trigger unnecessary tax. But you can set up a policy to where every $1 million can generate $100,000 a year of tax-free income, and under normal circumstances, based on actual historical performance, you're not going to have to worry about triggering unnecessary tax unless the economy just went down, 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 okay? And they're not going to let you access any more money than you could because they're normally going to prevent the policy from lapsing, being over loaned or loaning you too much money, okay? So if you go to borrow money, I've often told the story of one of my business owning clients. He's a very savvy multimillionaire. And in 2017, he needed to borrow $1 million out of his IUL policy. And he knows how simple it is because he's done it many times before. He says, Doug, please email me that form. Well, it's a one-page form. He puts his name and his policy number. It's like an account number, right? And then it says, do you want to withdraw $1 million? No, that's the dumb way, okay? He would not be grandfathered to put it back if he's going to take out $1 million, withdraw it, and then he wants to put it back. He wouldn't be allowed to put back an entire $1 million back into the policy, okay? Now, if he borrows it, he doesn't ever have to pay it back, but it doesn't mean he can't. He's allowed to put that money back and pay back the loan. Now, the IRS simply says it's going to be tax-free because it's a loan, but to be construed as a true loan, the insurance company must charge you a minimum statutory interest rate. So in most economies, that's a very low rate. And so let's use 2%. So this is called the fixed rate. So he goes down to the next part of the form and it says, do you want to borrow? Yes. Do you want to use the fixed loan or do you want to use the index loan? Maybe it says zero wash loan or participating loan. Do you want to use the alternate loan? These are sort of synonymous. I'll just use index loan, okay? So do you want to use the index loan or the fixed loan? He doesn't check the box for fixed loan, even though he could. When might he choose that? If he felt bearish about America for the next year, because you can change between these two annually, okay? Well, if he felt like the economy was headed for a recession and that the economy is not going to go up, the market's not going to go up, then you don't want to use this one. You want to use the fixed one because on that $1 million, they'll charge him 2%, let's say. That's $20,000. He doesn't have to write out a check for that unless he wants. That just accrues. At the end of the year, he's got $1 million plus $20,000 of interest accrue. That's $1,020,000. That's on the debit side, okay? Now, over on the cash value side, he borrowed $1 million from the insurance company, but that means he didn't withdraw $1 million. His $1 million is still sitting in the insurance company, and they're crediting him guaranteed the same rate they charged him, 2% or 1.9 or whatever. It's very close. Most of the time, it's a zero wash loan. They credit the same interest rate they're charging. So if they credit him 2% on the $1 million of cash value that collateralized the $1 million loan, he made 2%. So he made 20 grand over here. So now he's got $1,020,000 over here. The loan balance is $1,020,000. They're the same. It's a zero wash, zero cost loan, but that checked all the boxes with the IRS and it's tax-free, okay? If he keeps doing that year by year, this is being charged to, this is being credited to, this equals that, it's a zero wash, and the net cash value is any of the growth over and above the difference between those two, okay? On the other cash value that was in the policy that he didn't borrow out or borrow against. So far, so good. Now, why wouldn't you do that all the time? Because if you take out an indexed or participating or alternate loan, the insurance company is going to charge you a higher interest rate. Why would you agree to that? Because this is the smart way. This man was savvy. He understands how money works. He's a businessman. The indexed rate for him in 2017 was 5%. Usually it's like 4 or 5%. Why would he tell them, sure, charge me 5% interest, that's 50 grand on my million? Again, he didn't have to write out a check for 50,000. At the end of the year, what's the loan balance? $1,050,000. But what about the $1 million portion of his cash value? Are they just crediting him the same 5%? No. The difference here is they're going to credit him the indexed rate for that year. Are there some years that 0 is the crediting rate? Yeah, 0 is you're here. You don't make anything, but you didn't lose. But that's very rare or seldom, and it's usually pretty detectable. So that's why I say if you feel bullish about America, chances are it's better to choose the indexed rate, which he did. So the indexed rate means that on the $1 million of cash value that's collateralizing the loan is still in the insurance company being credited whatever the index is. If the index credited 10, then they credit him 100,000. So now his million at the end of the year is worth $1,100,000. The loan is $1,050,000. He made a net of 5% or 50 grand tax-free on his money while he was using the million to operate in his business. Well, what was he doing with that million in 2017? He was buying that was the earnest money for a $17 million, property. He does apartment complexes. He buys strip malls and he fixes them up and flips them. He made $3 million that year buying, fixing up, and flipping, but he needed $1 million of earnest money. He borrowed at 5%, but in 2017, guess what he got credited? 25%. He capped out at 25%. They credited him 250 grand on the million on this side of his IUL ledger. So at the end of the year, he had $1,250,000. You subtract the $1,050,000 phantom loan, okay, and what did he make? He made a net of 20% or 200 grand tax-free on $1 million while he was using that million to make $3 million buying, fixing up, and flipping a piece of real estate. Now, this is how money works. You use OPM, and so this is how to become your own banker. This is why when you retire and you have $1 million of cash value, you can, even if you're only earning 8% indexed average rates, you could pull out 10% a year based on actual history and without depleting your principal. Because if you're earning 8% on your index crediting rate, but you're actually borrowing at 5 and you're earning 7, you're making 2% more than the cost of the funds. You add 2% on top of 8, you can pull out a 10% payout. You can pull out 100 grand a year, and it will not deplete your $1 million nest egg. This is why many of our clients, even with an assumed average crediting rate of 8%, can pull out 10% a year without depleting principal because of using index loans. This is pretty incredible. Once you understand this, you're able to, because 7 out of 10 years, the market is up, okay? The other 3 years it's down, but on the average, the chance that you will earn at least 2% higher rate of return than what they're charging you on an index loan will make an incredible difference in your cash flow during your retirement income. And so that spread or that arbitrage is what's powerful that you achieve by using this one instead of just sitting there forever with a zero cost or zero wash loan. Does that make sense? And so that's the smart way to access money. These are synonymous, okay? But it doesn't matter which of these two loans you use. At the end of the day, you have this phantom loan balance. Why is it phantom? Because it's required by the IRS. They have to be charging you an interest rate, so it's tax-free. It's got to be construed as a true loan. But even if it's charged at 4 or 5 and you're earning double that, 20 years down the road, this $1 million that you borrow, or if you're borrowing 100 grand a year on $1 million of cash value, after 20 years, you've borrowed $2 million. With interest, maybe you owe $3 million over on this side, okay? Now, you don't have to pay that off. Doesn't mean you can't. So you have a $3 million loan balance, but over here you have $4 million of cash value. 4 million minus 3 million, you still have $1 million of cash value that you started with because you did it the smart way. But what if? What if 20 years down the road you inherited $3 million? You sold a business. Somehow you got a windfall, and now your age, you retired at 65. Now you're age 85. Doug, I'm too old to start a new IUL policy. I know we can do surrogates on the kids or the grandkids, but doggone it, I wish I could get a new IUL policy. What do I do with this $3 million? I go, well, remember the $3 million of phantom loans over here on your current IUL? You don't have to pay that off. Doesn't mean you can't. Because if you drop in $3 million into this grandfathered IUL policy, the IRS just considers that you're paying off a loan that you didn't have to pay off. The insurance company goes, oh, we got $3 million of new cash in this policy. Did you have to comply with TAMRA? No, you've already complied with that. You're just paying back a loan. $3 million more of cash value on top of what you had in there. Now you hit the ground running. You could immediately start pulling out $300,000 a year on that. $300,000 a year at a 10% payout on that $3 million. Instantly. You don't have to wait 5 years. You don't have to wait for growth because it's grandfathered. So it's the smart way because you can reinvest every single dime that you took out in the form of a loan and all the interest accrued on that loan as a reinvestment into a grandfathered contract. You can't believe how many agents do not understand the magic behind what I just said. So if you're a member of the consuming public and you want to learn more about what I just said and why IUL hands down is my favorite instrument, study my book, The Laser Fund, which is 2 books in one. This side, 200 pages, charts, graphs, explanations for the left brain learner. For the right brain learner, you flip over to this one, and this is 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories of how max funded IUL is deemed a laser fund. Laser means liquid assets, safely earning returns. And if you'd like to use your whole brain, read both, okay? But if you study this and watch several of these educational videos, you're going to know more than 99.9% of IUL agents do out there.